Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever had to go back to a place you promised yourself you'd never return to, this story might sit a little heavy. Let me tell you about a woman who thought she still had a place in her own family. I didn't come back because I wanted to. I came back because everything else stopped working. My name is Marin Cole. I am 60 years old. Saying that out loud still feels strange. 60 sounds like someone who should have things figured out. I don't. I just have fewer options than I used to, and less energy to pretend otherwise. After the divorce, I tried to hold on to my own place. I really did. I cut corners. I skipped meals. I told myself pride mattered more than comfort. Then rent went up. My savings went down. Life narrowed. Quietly. No big crash. Just doors closing one by one. My parents said I could come home, just for a while. They said the house was big enough. They said family helps family. I believed them because I needed to believe something. I didn't move in for free. That part mattered to me. I paid rent every month, in full. I kept receipts in a folder like proof of existence. I bought my own groceries. I stayed out of the way. I didn't want to owe anyone anything. Every morning, the kitchen smelled like stale coffee. Burnt, old, like it had been sitting there all night, forgotten. I'd stand there holding my mug, telling myself this was temporary, that I was choosing this, that I still belonged here. In some quiet way, I kept my voice low. I cleaned up after myself immediately. I learned which chairs creaked and which doors stuck. I learned how to take up less space without being asked. I told myself this was what surviving looked like at 60, swallowing pride, waiting it out, staying quiet. At the time, I thought I was making a smart decision. I didn't realize I was already being positioned. I learned the rhythm of the house fast. Not because anyone explained it to me, but because silence teaches quicker than words. I stopped eating dinner at normal hours. If I heard plates clinking, I waited. When the kitchen went quiet, I'd go in, heat something small, eat standing up. One night, my mother walked in and said, "You didn't have to wait." I smiled and said, "It's fine." She nodded like that settled something. I started using the back bathroom. No one told me to. It just felt easier, less traffic. Less eye contact, less chance of someone sighing behind me. My father noticed once. "You don't need to tiptoe," he said, half laughing. "I know," I said. "I just prefer it this way." That wasn't true, but it sounded polite. There's a floorboard outside my room that creaks, loud, sharp. The first time it happened, my mother called out, "Who's up?" "Just me," I said. After that, I stepped over it every night. I practiced the move until my body remembered before my mind did. Sometimes my daughter would talk over me without noticing. I'd open my mouth, then close it again. She'd say, "Sorry, Mom." "What were you saying?" "It's fine," I'd repeat. I said that a lot. It became my favorite lie. I told myself this was adulthood. This was maturity. You adjust. You don't push. You don't make things uncomfortable. Peace comes from knowing when to disappear. And it worked. No arguments. No tension anyone had to deal with. They stopped checking where I was. Stopped asking what I needed. They got used to me fitting around them. Not the other way around. I didn't vanish all at once. I did it slowly, on purpose. And somehow, that felt safer than telling the truth. When did staying quiet start feeling safer than being honest? I started noticing it in pieces. I'd walk into the living room and the talking would stop. Not dramatic, just a clean pause, like someone hit mute. My father would clear his throat. We were just talking about schedules. He'd say, "That's fine." I'd answer, already backing up a step. One afternoon, I heard my name before I entered. My mother's voice. Low. "She's been here a while," my daughter replied. "It's just temporary." Then silence. the kind that lands heavy. I stepped in anyway. The room went still. My daughter smiled too quickly. "Hey, Mom." "Hey," I said. They waited for me to leave. I could feel it. I grabbed a glass of water just to give my hands something to do. Later that night, I heard them again. Different room, same tone. "We need to think ahead." My daughter said. My father replied. "We can't keep adjusting forever." My mother added. "She understands. She's reasonable." Reasonable. That word stuck. The next morning, my daughter asked, "You don't mind if we move some things around, right?" I said. "What things?" She shrugged. "Just things." No one looked at me when they said it. I realized then that decisions were happening without me. But about me, I wasn't part of the conversation. I was the subject. They didn't hate me. That would have been easier. They just talked around me. Like I was furniture that might need moving later. I stayed quiet. I always did. Because once people start treating you like a burden, speaking up feels like proof they're right. How do you know when people stop seeing you as family and start seeing you as a burden? I heard the suitcase before I saw her. Those wheels scraping over the threshold. Bump, bump, like she wasn't sure she was welcome but came in anyway. My daughter stood there, one hand on her belly, the other gripping the handle. She didn't say hello right away. She just looked around the room like she was checking what had changed. "I'm pregnant," she said. No lead-in, no softness. My mother was already moving. "Sit down. You must be exhausted." "I'm fine," my daughter said, then sat anyway. My father asked, "How far along? Far enough?" She said, "I can't stay where I was." I waited for someone to ask what that meant. No one did. My mother looked at me. "She'll stay here for a bit." "For a bit," I repeated. "Just until things settle," she said quickly. My daughter dropped her bag by the wall. "I'll need the quieter room," she said. "The one away from the street?" That was my room. I opened my mouth, closed it. "It's fine," I said. "I swear." The words came out before I decided to say them. My mother nodded like that solved everything. "We'll make it comfortable for you," she told her. My daughter smiled. Not at me. That night, the house changed. Chairs moved. Lights stayed on later. Someone turned the heat up. My daughter complained about the smell of dinner, and my mother apologized to her. "I can't eat that right now." My daughter said, "Oh, of course." My mother replied, "I'll make something else." No one asked what I wanted. Later, my father said to me, "You understand, right?" "Of course," I said. "She needs support." That was the moment it shifted. I felt it in my chest. Something heavy. Something final. I wasn't the mother anymore. I was the flexible part. The space that could bend, the one who'd already lived her life. I stood in the hallway, listening to her laugh in the kitchen, listening to my parents circle her like glass, and I told myself this was normal. This was love. This is what mothers do. What happens when your own child becomes more important than you ever were? It didn't happen all at once. That's the part that still gets me. My mother started saying things like, "We just need to think about space." My daughter added, "Comfort matters right now," my father said. "It's only for a little while." Nobody said my name, not directly. One afternoon, I came back to my room and my closet door was open. I know I hadn't opened it. I keep it shut because the hinge sticks. My sweaters were pushed to one side. A box sat on the floor that wasn't mine. I stood there longer than I should have. At dinner, my daughter said, "We might move some furniture." I asked, "Which furniture?" She shrugged. "Just things that make sense." My mother jumped in. "You don't use that dresser much anyway." "I use it." I said, "Well," she replied. Not like she will. She didn't mean it cruelly. That almost made it worse. The next day, my father knocked on my door. "We were thinking," he said, already halfway inside. If we shifted you to the smaller room, it'd be easier on everyone. Everyone didn't include me, I said. That room doesn't have a door that closes all the way. He smiled. Tired. You're adaptable. That word again. My daughter didn't look at me when she said, "It's temporary," I answered. Of course. My things started moving without permission. A lamp gone, my chair in the hallway, my mail stacked on the counter like it didn't belong anywhere. I kept telling myself this was normal. Families adjust. Mothers give. Older women don't make scenes. But every night, stepping over that creaky floorboard, I felt the room shrinking, not the walls, my place inside it. They weren't arguing with me. They weren't asking me to leave, Denise. They were just making space. And somehow, I was the only thing that didn't fit anymore. At what point do you admit they're not just rearranging space? They're rearranging you out. I wasn't supposed to be home yet. A meeting got canceled. Nothing dramatic. I remember thinking I'd sit down for 5 minutes. Maybe drink some water, then figure out dinner. That was the whole plan. I pulled into the driveway and saw the bags first. Black trash bags, not even boxes, lined up by the porch like someone was waiting for pickup. One of them was split at the seam. I could see the sleeve of my blue sweater hanging out. I sat in the car longer than I should have. The engine was still running. I kept telling myself I was wrong, that it was someone else's stuff, that maybe they were cleaning. Then I got out. The smell of hot asphalt hit me. Sharp. I gripped my purse so hard my hand hurt, like holding onto it might keep everything else from slipping. I walked closer. My shoes, my winter coat, a grocery bag with my mail shoved inside. No note. No one came out. I said my daughter's name. Loud enough to hear myself. No answer. I knocked. Once. Then again. My mother opened the door just enough to look past me at the bags. She didn't seem surprised. We talked about this. She said, when I asked, she sighed like I was making things difficult. It just isn't working. My daughter stepped into view behind her, arms crossed. Calm. Too calm. You didn't tell me, I said. You packed my things. You knew it was temporary, she replied. We need the space. I looked at my father. He stayed in the hallway, hands in his pockets. Say something. I said. He said, you'll land on your feet. You always do. That hurt more than anything else. I pointed at the bags. That's my life. My daughter shrugged. It's just stuff. I laughed. I didn't mean to. It came out wrong. You couldn't even wait until I got home. She tilted her head. We didn't think you'd be early. That was it. That sentence. They had already decided. They had planned around my absence. I was late to my own removal. I bent down and picked up one bag. It was heavier than it should have been. I didn't look back when I carried it to the car. No one followed me. No one stopped me. The door closed behind me. Soft. Almost polite. If you came home and saw your life on the porch, would you fight or would you walk away? I thought I would scream. That's what people expect. Doors slamming, words you can't take back. I didn't do any of that. I picked up what I could carry, one bag at a time. I moved slow, like my body was buffering. My daughter stood in the doorway watching me. You don't have to rush, she said. I'm not. I answered. My voice surprised me. It sounded steady. My mother hovered behind her. You'll figure something out, she said. I always do. I replied. That one came out sharp. My father finally stepped closer. We didn't mean it like this. I looked at him. How did you mean it? He opened his mouth. Closed it. That was his answer. I loaded the bags into the trunk. The car felt too small all of a sudden. My hands were shaking when I turned the key. I had to try twice. That embarrassed me more than anything else. I sat there with the engine running. No one knocked on the window. No one waved. The house stayed quiet, like it had already adjusted. My daughter leaned out the door. You'll call. Right. I nodded. Sure. That was another lie. I was good at those by now. As I pulled away, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Let us know when you get settled. Settled. Like I'd just been rearranged. I drove until the street signs stopped looking familiar. I pulled into a gas station and sat there staring at the steering wheel. I felt stupid for being shocked. All the signs were there. I just kept stepping over them. Like that creaky floorboard outside my room, I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I didn't yell. I left. And somehow, that hurt more than being told to go. Why does leaving quietly hurt more than being thrown out? My phone buzzed on the plastic table while I was eating a sandwich. I didn't taste. I almost ignored it. Then I saw my father's name. Are you settled? He asked. No, hello. I'm fine, I said. There was a pause. Papers rustled on his end. The rent didn't come through. I waited. He didn't fill the silence. I don't live there anymore. I said, yes, but the rent. He repeated, like location was a technical detail. The payment was due. My mother took the phone. We're just trying to understand what happened. What happened, I said, is you put my life on the porch. She sighed. That's not fair. What's fair? I asked. Is charging rent to someone you just kicked out? Another pause. Longer this time. My father came back on. We were counting on that money. For what I asked. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was smaller. The house. That's when it clicked. Not all at once. Piece by piece. The urgency. The pressure. The way no one ever said thank you. I said, so that's what I was. What my mother asked. The backup. I said, the wallet you kept nearby. That's not true. She said quickly. Then why didn't you ask where I was before you asked about the money? Silence. Heavy. Familiar. I can't help. I said, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I just said it. We're family, my mother whispered. Then act like it, I replied, and hung up. I sat there staring at the phone. It didn't buzz again. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty, just clear. When the only thing they miss is your money, what does that say about your place in their lives? They showed up a few weeks later. Not at my place. At the cafe near the bus stop, neutral ground. My mother picked it. I recognized the smell before I saw them. Their laundry detergent. Clean, sharp. The same one I grew up with. It hit me harder than I expected. My father looked smaller. His jacket hung loose. My mother kept twisting her hands like she couldn't get them comfortable. We didn't know where else to go. She said. I nodded. I didn't offer to sit closer. My father cleared his throat. Things have been difficult. I waited. The house is behind, he said. Utilities too. Still waiting. My mother leaned forward. We just need a little help. Temporary. I looked at her. You like that word. She flinched. You know we wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. You asked last time, I said. That worked out. My daughter wasn't there. That felt intentional. My father said, she's going through a lot. So was I replied. That shut him up. My mother reached for my hand. I pulled it back without thinking. She noticed. Her face tightened. We're family, she said again. I said, you didn't sound like family when you packed my things. No one argued that. They didn't apologize, not once. They talked around it. About stress, about timing, about how everything got out of hand, like it just happened to them. My father finally said, we thought you'd understand. I do, I answered. I understand exactly, my mother whispered. So what are you saying? I'm saying I can't help. I said, it came easier than I expected. Not like that. Her eyes filled. My father stared at the table. We raised you, she said, and I paid rent. I replied, both can be true. They sat there a moment longer, waiting for me to soften. I didn't. When I stood up, my father asked, "Is this it?" I said. For now, I walked out without rushing, without guilt. The door closed behind me, and this time, I didn't feel the urge to look back. When the people who broke you come back desperate, do you owe them anything? I live smaller now, quieter. I rent a place where no one knows my history, and that helps more than I thought it would. When I come home at night, I lock the door and listen to the click, just once, clean, final. My mother called one more time. I let it go to voicemail. My father sent a text that said, "We hope you're well." I didn't reply. Not out of spite, out of clarity. "A neighbor here asked my name the first week. How long you staying?" he said. "I don't know." I answered, and I meant it. I still hear my daughter's voice sometimes. Not angry, just distant. She hasn't apologized. I haven't asked for one. That's part of what I'm deciding. How much silence is protection? And how much is just habit? I'm not healed. I still flinch when someone says temporary. I still double-check doors. But I'm not angry all the time either. Anger takes energy. I'm learning to spend mine differently. Here's what I know. And I'll say it plain. If you're the one always bending, always paying, always understanding, people start building their comfort on your back. You don't owe anyone your dignity. Not even family. If this story sounds familiar, say something in the comments. Not advice. Just truth. I read those. We all do. And if you're still standing where I stood, deciding whether to stay or go, know this leaving doesn't make you cruel. Sometimes it's the only way to stop disappearing. I haven't decided everything yet. I've just decided I won't go back.